In this video, I'm going to tell you several reasons why I no longer believe Robert Lustig. If you want to control what you eat, control your body, and control your life, then hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video. I first heard about Robert Lustig about 10 years ago. He had that video that went viral. It's like Sugar, the Toxic Truth, or the Bitter Truth, or whatever it was. You can still find, I think now it has 10 or 11, 12 million views, something like that. It's unbelievable. And then he was on CNN with Sanjay Gupta talking about sugar and how sugar is the evil. Well, and I've also read two of his books, Fat Chance and The Hacking of the American Mind. Both of them are good books, a lot of good points in them. But in this video, I'm going to tell you why I don't take him as seriously as I used. The first reason why is because Lustig himself has his own weight problems. I think this is kind of a refutation of his own idea. Either Lustig himself is binging on carbohydrates secretly, and he has a hard time controlling what he eats, which might be the problem, or it's not really the carbohydrates and the insulin that are causing the weight gain. It's one of those two, because when you look at him, you notice that he's not that slim, he's not that trim, he's not obese, and it doesn't look unhealthy, but he definitely has a weight issue. In fact, in his book, I think, forget which one, maybe it was Fat Chance, he talks about his residency and how he gained 40 pounds and how he's still trying to lose those 40 pounds. Well, here's my question. If he's the leading researcher on obesity, at least childhood obesity, because he's a pediatric endocrinologist at UCSF, why hasn't he lost that weight yet? If he knows what causes weight gain, and he knows that too much sugar and too many processed carbs are causing weight gain, why doesn't he stop eating them? Either he can't control what he eats, or it's not really the carbs themselves, and he's overeating something else that's causing him to maintain that 45 pounds. The next reason why is because he places too much blame on sugar. I don't think sugar is the boogeyman that everyone says it is. Yes, too much sugar is bad for you, but so is too much oil, so is too much hydrogenated fat, so is too many calories, so is too much of anything, right? You can eat a lot of natural sugars and fruit and still be very slim and very healthy. Some people eat a ton of fruit and they're really, really healthy. In fact, one of the things that healthy populations do, like in Sardinia and Okinawa and Costa Rica, is they eat a lot of fruit. And in fact, a lot of studies have shown that high fruit consumption is one of the biggest predictors of longevity. Now, Lustig himself has said that eating a lot of fruit is healthy. I don't know about a lot of fruit, but he says fruit is healthy because it comes with fiber and water, and it slows down the digestion, so it doesn't raise your blood sugars levels as much as processed carbs and added sugar. Fair enough, but I still don't think sugar is that one thing that is the cause of all of our health maladies and the cause of obesity. I think it's a little more complicated than that. If you haven't already, watch my previous videos on the carb-insulin hypothesis and why sugar isn't that bad for you. Lustig himself admitted on a podcast 6 or 7 years ago that he nibbles on cheap processed carbs during the day because that's all that's available. Well, if he's the leading crusader against processed carbs and sugar and soda, and he believes in food taxes and restrictions on these kinds of foods, then why is he still eating them? Maybe he's eating them because that's the only thing he can eat in a typical workday. I know what he's going through. Sometimes when you're in the healthcare field and you're walking around and seeing patients, you don't always have time to eat something that's really healthy. You're not living in the kitchen. You can't eat a perfectly portioned meal that you see in the magazines. It's just not always possible. I get that. But quit advocating for soda taxes and sugar taxes and all sorts of restrictions on food when you yourself are eating that. The truth is, we always have to make trade-offs, and trade-offs are just a part of life, and we can't always choose the ideal option. Again, it's another admission on his part that he himself has his own food and weight problems. My other problem with him is that he discounts personal responsibility. He says personal responsibility is a myth and biology always wins. It's almost like we're just dancing to chemicals in our brains. Listen, I know how hard it is to overcome addictions and how hard it is to break bad habits and how hard it is to stop overeating and stop overeating so much sugar and fat. I get it. Trust me, I've been there. It took me several years, in fact a decade, to overcome it, but it can be done. And saying that the only solution to the overeating crisis or the obesity crisis or whatever is to restrict access to this food and restrict the environment and regulate advertising is a total myth. When you become committed to your health and you become conscious of what you're doing, it's actually not that hard to stop. Initially, your brain is going to give you a lot of resistance, but you overcome that resistance over time. It all starts with making one better decision. Once you make one good decision, it's easier to make another good decision, then another good decision, and then another good decision. People have overcome food addictions, and you can too. Biology is not destiny. My next point is he demonizes insulin. So I've made a video before about insulin and why insulin is not the sole reason why people are obese. Insulin is one hormone among many that regulates appetite. Now, insulin is secreted by the pancreas, and what it does is it drives blood sugar into the cells so that you don't have too much sugar in the blood. Too much sugar in the blood can actually be deadly, and it can really damage your kidneys, so you don't want that. But insulin is actually a really good thing to have because it's just one of the ways that our bodies maintain homeostasis. However, it's not the only thing that regulates appetite, and it's certainly not the only thing that regulates weight. Weight is regulated by the brain, or the hypothalamus if you want to be specific. Now, Lustig says that insulin traps food in the cells, and then the brain doesn't get the message that we've been fed, and so it sends the message to keep consuming food. So it's kind of a hybrid of, say, Gary Taubes' hypothesis, who says that it's all about insulin, and my hypothesis that says that it's all about the brain. I'm glad that Lustig himself acknowledges that the brain is the regulator of appetite, but then he has this really weird theory that insulin damages the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus can't work, and it doesn't get the message, and blah, blah, blah. I think that's too complicated. I think a better answer for overeating is that the brain just likes to consume a lot. I think the reward hypothesis is a much more plausible hypothesis. The reward hypothesis says that when we are exposed to tasty, palatable, and convenient food, we want to consume it more because it is a cheap and convenient source of calories. It doesn't really matter if insulin is involved. But at least Lustig acknowledges the role of the brain in obesity. I don't like it when Lustig calls sugar a toxin. Listen, anything can be a toxin. Oxygen can be a toxin. I remember one time this reporter went around with a petition to ban dihydrogen monoxide. Well, if you think about dihydrogen monoxide, what is that? It's water. Well, water can be toxic too. In fact, water can be used as a form of torture. And if you consume too much of it, you can actually deplete your electrolyte levels so low that you pass out and die. This has actually happened before in marathons. In fact, it's even more common for that to happen than dehydration. This is a phenomenon called hyponatremia, when your potassium levels fall so low that your cells can't function properly. In fact, your potassium levels fall so low that your heart stops contracting, your heart fails, and you die. But sugar can be consumed in healthy quantities too. I'm not saying you should go around drinking 2 or 3 cans of soda each day and a ton of M&Ms. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you can consume sugar and still be healthy. And you can certainly consume sugar that's found in fruits and still be really healthy. Like I said, overeating and obesity have many different factors, and you can't just point to one molecule and blame everything on this one molecule. And the last reason I don't believe Robert Lustig is because he's a huge supporter of the nanny state. He thinks the only solution to obesity is to regulate advertising and to restrict access to cheap, palatable foods. But as I've already pointed out, he's admitted that when he's on the job, he eats these foods consistently. And he gained 45 pounds in residency and he never kept them off. I wonder if he's advocating for these kinds of measures because he can't control what he eats. These kind of measures don't work very well when they're implemented. It sounds plausible. If you take out candy bars, then people won't eat candy bars anymore. Yes, but they can find something else. Or if you restrict advertising to children, then children won't demand these foods. Well, the problem is a lot of popular television shows need these advertisements for programming. The problem is a lot of these TV shows for kids need these advertisements. If you restrict advertising, where are they going to get the money for these TV shows? In Chile, they actually banned cartoon characters on cereal boxes as a way to make kids eat less sugar. Something tells me that won't work. They've also tried banning candy bars at the checkout line so that people don't buy candy bars. I predict these kinds of measures will have little to no effect. Personally, I don't want my government telling me what to eat. Now, having said all this, I want to point out that there are several points of agreement with Dr. Lustig. He talks about exercise and its role in maintaining weight. He is absolutely correct. Exercise is not a good way to lose weight, but it's a good way to maintain weight. And people who don't exercise tend to regain the weight that they lost. I also agree with him that losing weight is definitely healthier. I know there are some researchers out there that say that losing weight won't have any impact on your health and there's no reason to lose weight and you can be healthy at any size. I don't believe in that at all. In fact, your life is only going to be healthier once you lose weight. This doesn't mean you need to lose 50, 60 pounds and you need to be super thin and super fit. That's not what I'm saying. But losing 30 or 40 pounds will certainly make your life easier. It'll be easier to move. If you get injured, it's going to be easier to recover. Everything is easier when you're lighter. I deal with overweight patients all the time, and trust me, their lives are not easier by carrying an extra 50 or 60 pounds of weight. In fact, if you're too heavy, a lot of surgeons won't do any joint replacements. So if you have a bad knee or a bad hip and you're 100 pounds overweight, you're not getting a new hip or knee anytime soon. I also agree with him on the role of sub-Q fat or subcutaneous fat. There are two types of fat. There's visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is the stuff that you find around the organs. If you're a male like me, you find it around your stomach. You know, that beer belly or the dad bod. If you're a woman, you usually find it on your hips. That's the kind of fat you want to get rid of. You don't want to get rid of the fat on your arms, behind your eyes, even some of the fat on your butt. I know a lot of ladies want to lose butt fat. Trust me, you don't want to lose sub-Q fat. Sub-Q fat is really essential for hormone regulation. It's really important for the menstrual cycle. It's really important for a lot of processes, so you don't want to lose sub-Q fat. What you want to lose is the visceral fat, because high levels of visceral fat are directly correlated with diabetes, obesity, and metabolic syndrome. And finally, he admits that fiber and protein are good. Now, unlike people like Gary Taubes who say that all carbs are bad and the more carbs you eat, the fatter you get, at least Dr. Lustig recognizes the role of healthy carbs like fruits and vegetables and whole grains because they come with fiber and other vitamins and minerals, and they don't raise blood sugar nearly as much as M&Ms and other processed carbohydrates. At least in his diet, there is room for fiber. At least he acknowledges that there are some carbohydrates that are good, unlike Gary Taubes who eats 4 or 5 eggs for breakfast every day. I hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Do you agree with me on Dr. Robert Lustig? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this video educational and entertaining. If you want to stop overeating in 5 days, head to my website, saneaters.com. I have a free 5-day challenge, Stop Overeating in 5 days. And if you want to speak with me directly, there is a link below. This video would not be possible without FocusMe. FocusMe is an app that improves focus and limits distractions so I can make these videos in less time. Enter the promo code you see on the screen and get 15% off your first purchase. I also want to thank Orit and Jewel at Esotino Artist. Esotino Artist designed the thumbnail for this video, and that's why you're watching it. So if you need help with graphic design, YouTube SEO, course creation, Etsy, or fulfillment by Amazon, then hit up Orit and Jewel. I also put a link in the description box. And don't forget to check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.